Wealth Radio Network.
There's an unwanted guest in thousands of homes. It's opioid addiction. Think it can't happen to your family? 20 to 30% of patients prescribed opioids for chronic pain will misuse them. And about 80% of people who use heroin began by first misusing prescription opioids. Drug overdose is the leading cause of accidental death in the U.S. Don't be afraid to talk about it, because help is available.
This Beasley Best Community of Caring message is brought to you by Talk 1470 and 95.3 FM WNN.
Would you like to start working from home? Then do what over 200,000 people have done. Take an investment class at Online Trading Academy. Online Trading Academy is a real brick-and-mortar classroom school that teaches people of all ages how income is made with stocks, options, futures, forex, even Bitcoin. At Online Trading Academy, you learn techniques used by pro traders, banks, and institutions, and how they make money in up, sideways, and down markets. Learn how to pick the right investments, how to time the market, and how to limit the risk on all trades with a patented rules-based strategy taught only at Online Trading Academy. If you're looking for a way to start working from home, do what over 200,000 students have done. Call now for a pair of tickets to a free half-day class in Broward or Palm Beach at Online Trading Academy, the leader in investment education. Call 954-668-2510, 954-668-2510, 954-668-2510.
Talk health, talk wealth, talk politics, talk 1470 and 95.3 FM WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teal. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teal, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Caregiver Solutions Info. I'm Marcia Teal, your host, and thank you for being here. We have a wonderful show for you today. We are live from Boca Raton, Florida. So whether you're listening to us on local radio, 1470 AM, 95.3 FM, or if you're catching us on your smartphone, your computer, at www.caregiversolutions.info. You can watch us live stream anywhere and hear us locally here in South Florida. I'm glad you're here. I have a few announcements I'd like to make to start off the show before we get into introducing my guest today. There's a lot going on, and this program is actually for caregivers to educate. And one of the things that I like to do is to promote a lot of the great educational opportunities that come up, not only locally but nationally, and also tell you about some fundraising opportunities that you can go and help support your favorite cause, whether it's Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you know, first of all, about a conference. It's a national conference. It's coming up on April 13th, and it is the Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration. And I'm going to get my handy little teleprompter here in front of me, and I'm going to go ahead and share this with you. This is actually in Chicago, and it's not too late to get some information and actually try to attend. It's going to be Friday, April 13th, the AFTD's 2018 Educational Conference at the Marriott O'Hare in Chicago, Illinois. And you can actually register still. They have discounted hotel rates if that's something that you're interested in. This is a conference that actually will provide some travel grants. So if you're a caregiver and you're dealing with frontotemporal dementia and would like to attend, you want to contact them and see if they can give you a travel grant to get there. So there's information about that. This is brought to us by the Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration out of Radnor, Pennsylvania, which is close to King of Prussia. And if you would like more information, there's two ways you can get it. You can call them at area code 267-514-7221. Again, 267-514-7221. Or you can go to their website at www.theaftd.org. So that would be the, and then the initials AFTD for Association Frontal Temporal Degeneration.org. So that's something that I know is a lot of times hard to get information about. We talk a lot about all kinds of dementia, on this program, and mainly it's Alzheimer's because that's the most prevalent type of dementia. But there's, as you might know, lots of different diseases and things that can cause memory loss, including Parkinson's and vascular dementia when people have strokes and things like that. We recently had a phone call from a caregiver who picked up our show. She lives in Hawaii, and her husband is suffering from frontotemporal dementia, and she shared with us that there's very little resources in Hawaii, and she was really glad to see our show. We had two back-to-back last year on this particular subject, and so she was very happy to know that there's resources out there. So I like to share specifically this particular conference so that anyone would like to attend or need more information, about it. There's also several opportunities here in South Florida for caregivers that are local here in our South Florida listening area. The first one is the 8th Annual Alzheimer's Association Regional Educational Conference. This is going to be held at FIU, the Biscayne Bay campus, at the Covens Conference Center. That address is 3000 Northeast 141st Street in North Miami Beach. And the date of this conference is Thursday, March 22nd from 7:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. To get more information or to register to attend this conference, go to their website, www.alz.org, alz.org, to register. And that's the one that's coming up in North Miami Beach, March 22nd. There is a fundraiser coming up here in North Palm Beach, north of us, and it's called Dancing with the Stars of North Palm Beach. It is going to be on March 22nd also from 4 to 7 p.m. So if you can't go to North Miami Beach, maybe you can go up to Palm Beach Gardens. And in Palm Beach, they're going to be doing a fundraiser. It's called Dancing with the Stars. I was fortunate enough to participate in the very first fundraiser of Dancing with the Stars of Palm Beach a couple years ago. And it's a wonderful way to showcase movement and how dancing can help people not only with dementia but with Parkinson's. And this particular Dancing with the Stars is to benefit Parkinson, and the tickets are $25, very, very affordable. You're going to be seeing professionals from, for instance, Fred Astaire Dance Studios and others, paired up with healthcare professionals who have put in their time and effort to learn how to do different dances to bring to the stage for your listening and watching pleasure. And the guest speaker who will also be on stage is Dr. James Galvin. If you haven't ever heard Dr. Galvin, you want to try to get there and listen and see this wonderful show, because he's a wonderful speaker and talks about memory care and all that's going on in the healthcare field regarding that. If you would like to get a ticket or would like more information about this particular fundraiser, you may call Judith Simon And her phone number is area code 914-672-1892. Again, Judith Simon, 914-672-1892. Call her to get more information and go to Dancing with the Stars of North Palm Beach. And last but not least, we also have the Optimism Walk for the American Parkinson's disease. That is going to be Saturday, March 24th from 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. at Tradewinds Park. It's a wonderful opportunity to get outside and walk for Parkinson, raise some money. The address there is 3600 West Sample Road in Coconut Creek. To sign up, to walk, or to get more information, or just to make a donation, you can go to their website, which is www.apdaparkinson.donordrive.com. One more time, apdaparkinson.donordrive.com. So we have some wonderful opportunities here right in our backyard in South Florida to learn, to be entertained, and to raise money for a good cause. So hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of one of those. So today we're going to be talking about something that if you have ever encountered a parent maybe getting older as us, the baby boomers, are getting older. Our parents, obviously, are also getting older. And sometimes we find that they need more help than what they can do on their own or what even we can do to help them for various reasons. Maybe our parents live far away. Maybe we're still working. Maybe we just don't have the time or the ability to lend more assistance. And so what's a person to do? And so one of the things we're going to be talking about is solutions to helping someone at home that needs a little bit of help. They're not ready to go into a community. They don't need assisted living necessarily, but they do need a little bit of extra help. And so we're going to be exploring this topic of home health care. And when we come back from our first commercial break, we have a president and CEO of a local home care company who has been in the business for over 25 years, and she's going to share with us all the ins and outs. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
Hi, I'm Mike.
Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know. We understand. We can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
On caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi. Today we're talking about home health care, and I have a wonderful guest today to help us do that. Her name is Kim Champion, and she is the founder and president of Champion Home Health Care. Hi, Kim.
Hi. Thank you, Marcia. I appreciate you having me here today.
I'm so glad that you are here. Very excited to have you today to talk about this subject. 25 years in the business, a long time, right?
It is chronologically, but in my mind, it's sort of a blink.
Okay.
However, it is good to know that over that amount of time that I've helped thousands and thousands of families.
Yeah, well, that's why you do it. You're a good person, a good heart, and you give good care, and we're going to talk about that today. But 25 years, I'm sure that from when you first began working in this health field of home care, you've seen a lot of changes, haven't you?
We have, and all of those changes actually are very positive. For instance, communication. Not that there's anything wrong with a good old-fashioned phone call, but as you might imagine, with a lot of our clients who happen to be elderly and homebound, their family members who are not local or who can't see them every day, they rely on us to keep them up to date. You know, what is happening with mom? How was her day? And so forth. So, not that long ago, everything was telephone. So we would get a call. Someone would ask, did mom get that grocery shopping done? Did the aide take care of XYZ? And we'd say, okay, we'll get right back to you. And we'd make another call, and we'd call the aide, and then we'd call them back. Well, these days, even our clients appreciate text. Family members appreciate emails.
Yes.
Pictures on cell phones. That is awesome.
Wow.
How's mom doing today? Here's mom.
Aw. Because families today are very scattered,
Yes.
and it's hard to keep up on a day-to-day basis. And I guess that's a really good improvement and a good change with all the technology that affords us now to stay in contact.
It is. So, for instance, we always meet all of our clients in advance of providing a service. We want to get to know the clients better, and the family members like to participate. So this solves the dilemma of what happens if the adult daughter happens to be in New York. So I've done many conferences with new clients on FaceTime. And so
changes the way that we do business.
That's right.
Keeping up. I mean, you have to really. I think that's awesome. Well, 25 years is like we saw, a long time to be providing services to all your clients, and you're in the South Florida area. What's your range?
Well, yes, we're actually bigger than that. Champion Home Healthcare has 8 offices in the state of Florida. So we are servicing clients in Broward County, Palm Beach County, Martin County, St. Lucie County, up through Gainesville.
Okay. All right. Well, good. You've been growing since I've talked to you.
Well, you've got to do a lot in 25 years. You can't just sit still.
That's very, very good. So let's put ourselves in the position right now to say we have knowledge of the healthcare field. I've been with Arden Courts for over 17 years, and you've been in it for 25 years, and we know pretty much the ins and outs. But let's talk about a normal person who does not have ties to healthcare. They don't really know what they need before they might even need it.
That's
even
true.
when they do need it, they still don't know what they need, right?
That's right. And the terminology, they're a little unclear on that.
So I want to just start and talk about some basics right now about what is home health care. Just in general, what is it? What can it do? What can it not do? Can you just tell everybody about that?
Be happy to. Well, Florida is a licensure state, so the license that we have been credentialed with dictates the type of services that we can provide. Having said that, it's pretty darn flexible as far as meeting the needs of the client. So even a nurse's aide, for instance, that level, nurses' aides they do all the things you would expect: bathing, dressing, grooming, reminding on meds. But, in a home setting, they also really function as a glorified housekeeper. They can go and fetch the mail. They can run errands. They can do grocery shopping.
They can take the person
cooking
with them and go, or they can...
And that's a big need.
Yes.
So what we find is that home health aide level of care really meets the needs probably 80% of our seniors who are still living at home and they want to stay home. In this case, we're talking about that.
Yes.
We can shift gears in a bit and talk about private duty and facilities. So that's important.
Because most people do want to do that. They want to stay home, given a choice. They don't want to leave their home that they've had for many years.
Or maybe they don't mind leaving, but they're not ready to go yet. So when someone calls me and says, gee, I don't know what to do with Mom. I don't know if I should get her home care, put her in a facility, or bring her home to live with me in New York or whatever. And so I usually say, well, honestly, of the three, the home care is the easiest and most cost-effective to arrange in the short term. And so maybe your ultimate goal is to get her to a facility, but at least if we have the home care in place, we can arrange that in a matter of days. And you know that we're holding down the fort for now, and that there's a safety net built around Mom. And then as you have time, if you want her to go to a facility, you know, you're going to want to take her on tours, and you're going to want to tour for her and narrow it down and do your homework. So and then you've got to sign contracts, and you've got to have maybe a doctor's letter to move in. So there's lots of things to be arranged, and that might take a month or more, depending.
Right.
So I think that the home care component, like I said, it's the easiest and cheapest to arrange. The reason it's the cheapest is because with home care, you only pay for what you need. If Mom only needs a couple hours of help, she can have that. Whereas the facilities are geared towards, you move in, you're in for some sort of a monthly fee or daily fee, however they go about charging. You don't get a discount if you go and you take Mom out for a few hours.
Okay.
Right.
So if somebody wants some help, they can get as little or as much as they need for home health. So I like that, because I think most people, at least most caregivers that I speak to, they start out that way, with home health, coming in.
Something part-time.
Something part-time, helping out, depending if it's a few days a week or if it's a few hours every day or whatever fits into their schedule.
And that is also one of the concerns a lot of times with the adult children. They'll say, look, Mom's never had help before, and I just can't be there as much as she wants me to be. My mom calls me 5 times a day. And
you're not exaggerating.
And I just need a day off every now and then. We call that, in the business, we call that respite. So you can call it whatever you want. We have a family right now that we're working with. It's a beautiful husband and wife. They both work. They're middle-aged. The mom is 80-ish, 90-ish. She does have dementia. And she is, by the way, going to one of our excellent daycare facilities in the area on a daytime basis. So the way we're helping this family is, as the couple expressed to me, they said, sometimes we just want to go on vacation. Sometimes we want a date night. we want a weekend off. How can we arrange that? So that's when we talked about, well, why don't you start having a caregiver come in on a part-time basis? You get to know the caregiver gets to know your mom gets comfortable with somebody else besides you, always taking care of her. And then when you need us for that extended period of time, then we will come over and we'll stay.
The mom is living with this couple, right?
She is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a 24/7 job.
It is. So they've called upon many resources, but they pulled together a safety net that does work for Mom, and then they call us as needed for that extended respite, which I think date night is a real good reason to get a night off with your spouse.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because people think that they're being selfish sometimes if they're primary caregivers to want to get a night out.
Or guilty.
Yeah.
Or guilty.
Yes.
I know. And so I wrote an article about this that got published in different places called Caregiver Cling. And what it talks about is that it's a mistake for a lot of reasons, but it's a mistake as you as the primary caregiver, it's a mistake for you not to build in a backup system of some secondary caregiver that you can call upon as needed, because God forbid there will be an emergency. And the other thing is that if you are always 100% responsible for your loved one as their caregiver, then you are encouraging that person to cling to you and only to you, and balk or be fearful of a second person coming in.
It's almost like nobody else can do it. I need my daughter. I can't have anybody else. And it makes the job then of that primary caregiver harder. When they do have to go, or they want to go, it makes it harder.
Yeah. So definitely, if you are the sole caregiver for your loved one, whether it's your spouse or parent or whoever it might be, you should introduce a secondary part-time caregiver early on, or if you haven't, think about it and make a plan. So this can be, as I said, someone who just comes in. Some of our clients, they only call us maybe twice a month.
Really?
A couple of hours twice a month, that's all they need.
Just enough to, like you say, plant that person there to get used to it.
And you know what it does? It also trains the caregiver that it's okay to leave for 3 or 4 hours or the day or something like that. Because caregivers, we as family members, that's a huge 24/7 burden. We need to take a break and we need to recharge our batteries as well.
Yes.
And if we don't, all the statistics will tell you that it is almost more likely for you as the caregiver to get a serious illness and pass away before your loved one, because the stress of it will kill you.
And that is so true. I have seen it with, in experiencing these caregivers who end up going to the emergency room with heart problems, and it was caused by stress and the anxiety of it all, and their loved one might be at a day center and they just can't handle it. I mean, they've done as much as they can, but it's still stressful. There's levels of help out there, and and we talk about that, like getting help in the home, going to adult day center, later on maybe going into an assisted living. So there's levels of help out there. And, I think some caregivers don't know when they need to go to the next level. And they're putting so much stress upon themselves, so many expectations on themselves. And so I think that having, like you said, someone come in, letting them know that it's okay, and then if something, God forbid, did happen and they did experience a health problem or any other type of family emergency, they're okay. They're not going to freak out thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Can't leave mom with a stranger. Well, I can't take her with me, And so I think that's a great plan. We always tell caregivers on the show, be prepared. Even if, have a plan, even if you don't have to execute that plan, but have a plan.
Right. And we have met with families and signed up clients on an as-needed basis. So the concept there is that we will be their backup plan. And they may go 6 months and not call us at all. But I tell you what, it gives a lot of peace of mind to that family to know that, because I'll tell them, once you're signed up with us, regulatorily wise, we are set to go. So once you're signed up with us, we can have help to your home within about 3 hours' time. So no, we're not as good as 911, and we're not replacing 911. But as far as getting a caregiver over there to hold down the fort until somebody can fly in from New Jersey or whatever, we can do that.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's really good for everybody to know. Yeah, I love that. So getting back to what
what caregivers do. But the first one you mentioned would be like a CNA? Yes, in those credentials, we have several ones that meet the standard. So some of the credentials out there you will see certified nursing assistant, home health aide, personal care assistant.
Are they all about the same?
In a home setting, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So all of those designations can pretty much do the same activities within the realm of the home and what they do.
Correct. Now, coupled with that, and if anytime you get ready to hire a caregiver, these are things you should be aware of. So nurses' aides and nurses and therapists and so forth, they all need CPR. Because we just talked about what happens in an emergency, and your caregiver needs to be trained in basic life support and CPR. So, God forbid there's an emergency, yes, they're going to call 911, but they need to be able to respond as well. So If you may hear of a friend who's just great, who took care of their mom. So, okay, fine, but as you're screening that person, they need to have their qualifications in order and active. So, for instance, CPR, they have to be retrained every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
Yeah, it's only good for that period of time. After that, it's stale. So the reason it expires is because the state knows they need to go back and go through the course again and have a refresher.
And that's a very good thing to note, because we're going to take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, I want to talk about what happens when someone decides to not go through a company, maybe find a friend of a friend of a friend to take care of their mom, somebody off the street, quote unquote, or even off the internet, which it can happen, and the pros and cons of that.
Sure.
So we're going to talk about that. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Wandering is a common problem for people with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's also a problem for family members who care for them. Keeping them safe and secure means never letting your guard down. And even though deep down you know it's time, it hurts to have to ask for help. But it could hurt them even more if you didn't. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. The inability to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's, particularly among the family members who care for them. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know. We understand. We can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunities.
Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
We are back, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care Communities. Arden Courts has about 50 communities all across the United States. They have 10 right here in Florida. So Arden Courts is an assisted living that specializes in memory care. They take care of people with all different kinds of dementia, from mild to moderate, all the way until the end. And not only do they take care of their residents, they also take care of the caregiver. And what I mean by that is that if you're a caregiver, and even if you place a loved one in a community, you're still a caregiver. You still have responsibilities. You have to make decisions. You have to do the shopping and things like that. So once a caregiver, you know, you're still a caregiver, and caregivers need support. And Arden Courts is a wonderful resource, not only for assisted living, but also for information and resources, not only this show, but they have a lot of books and articles, and it's all absolutely free to you. I'd like to tell you about this opportunity. This book is called the 36-Hour Day book, and it is a wonderful resource for caregivers. It discusses all different kinds of dementia, Alzheimer's, and like we talked about, Parkinson's, frontotemporal lobe, vascular dementia, explains the differences. A lot of wonderful resource information, tips, advice in here, written by Dr. Peter Rabins and Nancy Mace. It's a must-have if you're a caregiver. So if you don't have this book and you'd like to get it, all you have to do is call the toll-free number of Arden Courts, and they'll mail it to you absolutely free. That number is 888-478-2410. Again, 888-478-2410. Call them up, tell them you heard about the offer on the Caregiver Solutions Info Show, and they'll get your name and address and mail you a book right to your doorstep. Thank you, and please give them a call. So today we're talking about home health care, and my guest is Kim Champion. She's the founder and president of Champion Home Health Care here in Boca Raton, Florida. And Kim, this has been wonderful so far, talking about what is home health and what can home health provide to a family, whether they need it now or they might need it in the future. But I guess the key word is to plan for that. And we've been talking about how people can plan for that. Before we went to break, we talked about how do you choose someone, right, to take care of your loved one in your home. And obviously there are so many home health companies, it's hard to choose, but some people actually go the route of word of mouth. I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody that took care of someone. Maybe, that they're going to use that particular person. Maybe they just start looking and calling the yellow pages. Maybe they even start perusing the internet. But there's pros and cons with all of these different ways of investigating. And I know that you know about them, and I want to discuss some of the issues that people could encounter if they're not careful.
Sure. Well, I think actually personal references are very good. So we do hear a lot of that when our clients call us, probably 8 times out of 10. They have been personally recommended by one of our other clients. Or, in the case recently, one of our aides was with one of our clients in a restaurant. And a lady walked up and she says, I just have to say, if I needed an aide, I would want someone just like you. So she got our name and number and called to inquire. So that does work. We, of course, have a website. It's www.championhome.com. And there is a lot of information available there for caregivers, self-help articles, and so forth.
Wonderful. But what if somebody doesn't know about you and they just kind of Google in home health care?
They do find us through Google searches as well. That's true. And as far as Yellow Pages goes, a few people still have those books. But I used to... in the old days, we complained about the cost of the Yellow Pages ads because there were thousands and thousands of dollars every month, right?
Yes.
But it was the only game out there. So you asked about changes in home care. Now, of course, these days, no one bothers to advertise the Yellow Pages. So we don't have that to complain about anymore. So now we can complain about how much Google charges, per click, and how to do the search engine optimization.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now we've got all that.
But some people will find a company maybe online, and you had mentioned before the show started that some of these companies are not real legit, or they don't tell you all the information that they should.
Right. So just like there's a lot of dating websites out there if you're looking for a mate, there are a lot of caregiver websites out there if you're looking for a caregiver. What I see as a problem is that most these caregiver sites originally kind of sprung up as looking for a babysitter, like literally a babysitter for your child or a nanny. That's how they started.
That I would look for a babysitter for my baby on a website. That just seems so odd and impersonal.
I'm just saying that as time has gone by, these websites, and I'm trying to think of names of them, but
that's okay. We don't need to name them.
The way they make money is by having companies pay to be on their website. So you may see a TV ad, for instance, saying, if you need a caregiver, contact us. They're not selling anything directly to you. They're not assuming any responsibility either for what you might find on their website. So the problem could be you go through and you look and you'll see this nurse's aide or that nurse and so forth. Because we look at these websites too. The problem can be that these people are lying about their credentials.
Right, because we talked about credentials right before the break about how to make sure that, for instance, people have their CPR.
Right. So they're just out and out lying because they think no one will check, So if you choose to shop that way, for a caregiver, then you really need to do your due diligence. So in terms of the licensed providers, home health agencies, nurse registries, etc., we have a regulatory body looking over our shoulder all the time. And we are required to do all the due diligence, including and especially including the criminal background check. This is a fingerprint, photograph, FBI level background check. And this has been in place for decades. So for people looking to hire a friend of a friend or off of a website, if you don't have a way of doing a criminal background check on that caregiver, then I would say buyer beware. Because it's a really important piece. And here's the other thing. Those people out there, the caregivers that are out there that are scam artists.
And there are some.
They're not signing up with people like me because they know we require a clean background check, and they don't have it. So their only way of getting jobs is to put themselves out there on the internet or friend of a friend, etc., where they think no one will check on them.
I've even seen classified ads in the newspaper, hire me for a caregiver with a phone number. They're even doing that.
Okay. Well, in which, if people advertise however they want, but we're talking about how does a family member choose wisely. And we're telling you as professionals that we know that a person has to trust but verify. So you can't just take it for whatever they're telling you on the little website. That yes, they're a nurse, yes, they're trustworthy, honest, etc. That's not good enough.
Well, you and I both have had knowledge and experience knowing about people who have taken advantage of the elderly being in a caregiver position.
Well, we all hear
in
stories.
The home.
That's right.
I mean, just because I think somebody is a friend of a friend of a friend and they might recommend, that doesn't mean that they don't have, like you suggested, a shady background, or maybe they did something that the people don't even realize, and they're going to continue to, take advantage of people, and that is a crime, actually, when these caregivers go in and it's abuse against the elderly, whether they're stealing money from them or property, or they're not treating them well.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So the big advantage of using a licensed provider such as a home health agency and so forth is that we already have all those regulations on us.
Yes.
And we assume the responsibility for not only checking all of the credentials. So Susie Q says she's a nurse. We call up the Department Board of Health and we verify that this license is valid and active. When it gets ready to expire, we get back to the nurse and say, hey, we need your renewal, otherwise you're out. Same with CPR. If your CPR is good till June, we need your renewal.
So you're on top of it.
We have to be.
Yeah, and if you're not, and if someone does verify, and they've done their due diligence as you suggested, but they do have to keep
it's
on it.
It's an ongoing process.
It's an ongoing process, which sometimes people just don't have the time or the energy to do that, and
or they don't have the resources for it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that level 2 FBI background check with the fingerprints and the photograph. I do not think that that's available to the public in general. We are a licensed entity, and so we're in a system coordinated through the state.
Yeah, they can just check to see if anybody has already committed a crime, but not to that detailed prior information. So, so it can be a problem, and I've heard it once too many times of people going in and taking advantage of. And
law enforcement has the same concerns. They'll get a call saying, oh, my caregiver stole something from me.
Yes.
Well, how do they track down that caregiver? If that maybe the caregiver lied about who in the heck they are. Sometimes they don't have the real name. They don't know where this person lives. There's no entity to go back to check on these people. That's the problem.
It is a
problem. So if they're hired through a licensed agency, we have the whole personnel file. We know exactly everything about them. And if ever there was any problem, all of that would be available.
Yes. And that's a reason, not to just pick somebody just because you heard that they were good. It's just...
Well, it's a starting point. But unless you can verify that they're actually adequately trained
Yes.
to do that job and that their credentials are maintained. I mean, nurses' aides and nurses, they have to have continuing education.
Yep.
Well, can you do that for them? Well, probably not. Well, how do you check up on that? How do you make sure it all happens? So that's all important. There's also something here in Palm Beach County, got started a couple of years ago, and it's called the Palm Beach County Caregivers License.
And that's fairly new within the last couple of years. Yeah.
So out of all the counties in Florida, Palm Beach County decided it was going to come up with its own caregiver license. And the reason they came up with it was because the law enforcement was very frustrated about all these private caregivers out there running amok that they couldn't track down after a problem had happened.
I was going to say, the reason
they're trying to solve a crime and they can't find these people.
Exactly, yeah.
So they wanted a way of identifying the individuals. So that's one more thing that we cooperate with, because as I said, everyone who works for us has already undergone the criminal background check. So we coordinate with Palm Beach County licensing to help our caregivers. So all of our caregivers, besides everything we just talked about, they also have the Palm Beach County Caregivers License.
Yeah, real good to know. All of these levels are just going to make a
one
family
more safety net.
Safety net, peace of mind, knowing that they've chosen the right person for their loved one.
Mm-hmm.
So time for a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Wandering is a common problem for people with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's also a problem for family members who care for them. Keeping them safe and secure means never letting your guard down. And even though deep down you know it's time, it hurts to have to ask for help. But it could hurt them even more if you didn't. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know. We understand. We can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. The inability to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's, particularly among the family members who care for them. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts.
Disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Welcome back. We're talking about home health care today with Kim Champion, founder and president of Champion Home Health Care here in Boca Raton, Florida. So, Kim, we've talked about a lot of things, and we talked about an aide coming into the home and what are some of the things that person can do. But one of the things that concerns a lot of people is medication. And you mentioned earlier about the aide can remind somebody to take the pill, but what if someone actually needs more than that? How can that be accomplished through home health?
So we also have skilled nursing and medication management or administration of medication is what the licensed nurses do. So we have licensed practical nurses, we have registered nurses. We have many clients where we go in one time a week and we set up all their medications for the week. So they're in a position where they're alert and oriented, and once it's set out, they just don't feel confident keeping it straight and they have a past medical history of not being able to keep it straight. And medication compliance, believe it or not, that's like the number one reason people are hospitalized. Not being compliant with their meds, their health goes down, they get hospitalized, and the doctor's like, what happened? I prescribed blah, blah, blah. Well, they weren't taking blah, blah, blah.
Well,
or they weren't taking
or
it.
they were taking it too often.
Or not.
Or not enough, or not at all, or mixing. And
well, and look, I mean, everybody has that experience who takes, like, even vitamins on a regular basis. Gee, did I take those things today? So our nurses help keep it all organized and all squared away. So we go in as often as needed, but usually on a weekly basis. And we're not just doing the prescription medications. We can do all the vitamins and so forth as well. We can also call the pharmacies, help with the refills, make sure that gets organized.
Couldn't a nurse, when they're in the home doing that, also do nursing duties such as taking somebody's blood pressure and things like that?
Absolutely.
And take the vitals, and that may keep someone on top of a potential problem because, people don't go to their doctors, maybe every 3 to 6 months. So that could maybe show
it's a wellness
sign.
check.
Exactly.
That's right. And God forbid there is any kind of a health issue with the blood pressure, et cetera, the nurse can then go ahead and call the patient's physician.
And I think that's real important too, especially for patients that are prone to that, to have high blood pressure and family's not around to check on them all the time, and just to make sure that they're okay. Maybe they're eating right. They're not dehydrated, which can be a big problem for people living alone. So all of these things, a nurse then coming in on a regular basis could check and assess and stave off a crisis, right?
Yes, assessing the client's medical condition, following up with the family, with the physician as needed, and basically keeping this client running along smoothly without a medical crisis.
Yes.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and so that's great. So you have these different levels that can do different things to help people in different situations.
We also provide physical therapy and occupational therapy.
Wow.
So someone has a hip replacement or a shoulder surgery, anything like that. Maybe they were very good health-wise leading up to that, independently living. But post-surgery, they find that they need a little help at home. So whatever care someone is getting in a skilled nursing facility, that can be duplicated in a home setting if they want, or when the time is right.
Yeah, sometimes it's just more convenient and more comfortable in your home.
Well, so I have never personally stayed overnight in a skilled nursing facility, and maybe you have?
Nope, not in rehab, just a hospital.
Okay. So what I hear from my clients is that no matter how nice the facility is, and including their staff, at some point they just want to go home.
Yeah.
It's
like me when I go on vacation. I just want to get home. I mean, I'm having a wonderful time and everything's awesome, but you just can't wait to get home. So that's another really good asset that home health can provide to people on a short-term basis also.
Correct.
Let's talk real quick before we run out of time today. Something that's near and dear to my heart, and I know that you have lots of experience with it. People that are home that have dementia, right? And it might be mild or not, but they're home. And there comes a time where they do need help and supervision.
Yes.
And so are all aides trained in Alzheimer's care?
Yes. The answer is yes, because good for us, and here in Florida, they changed the laws, a long time ago, to make Alzheimer's training mandatory, a mandatory part of the curriculum. So the nurses have always had that component, but I'm guessing as far back as 10 years. They've had that.
Within the last 10 years, yeah. Yeah. And that's good.
Yes, well, it certainly is, because as we know, caring for a dementia patient or anybody with cognitive impairment, it's a specialty. It's a specialty. It's because of the tone of voice you need to use in spite of anything that might be building, like agitation with the patient, especially in those cases. But, your soft tone of voice, trying to deflect and get the person to think about something else other than what is bothering them.
It's an art, too. I mean, it
Oh,
really
yes.
is. And I think that people don't realize really what goes into the whole caregiving task of caring for someone with dementia, because you do have to be creative. You do have to think on your feet.
Right, because you can't, when they say they're looking for their mom and they're 80-something years of age and you know mom's been dead a long time, you absolutely cannot say, sorry, your mom's dead. That's it. It just, unless you want to have a real meltdown on your hands.
Have a battle or something.
So yes, you have to listen to what they're saying. You have to understand what they're feeling. What are these underlying feelings that's causing them to say this? And they probably cannot express the true feelings. Maybe they're hungry. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they have pain. But they don't know any of that, or they can't express it. All they know is they want to get out the door and go.
Yeah.
You know, as one example.
It's tough caring for someone at home. And then eventually when a caregiver can't do that anymore, because there comes a point in time where the dementia has progressed to a point where they might need more help, where an assisted living for dementia could come in. But,
Absolutely.
But it's good to know that there are resources out there to help with all these different scenarios, whether someone needs a little bit of help and they're fine and they just need some, overview, whether they need more of the nursing for medication, for rehab, for dementia care. I mean, there's so much out there that is available, and I just want to make it more interesting to people that are listening, saying that, that scenario is us, because they don't know what they might need or how they could use it. So hopefully they've heard something today where they might say, gee, I didn't know that, and this might be something that I could take advantage of. So why don't you tell everybody from your website? I know they can find you, you mentioned, but tell us your phone number, how to contact you, how best to get started, even if they just want to ask some questions.
Sure. So the website again is www.championhome.com. The phone number to my particular office, and if you're somewhere else in Florida, I will give you the phone number to the office closest to you. But in Boca, it's 561-347-0440.
All right, you want to say that one more time?
561-347-0440. Now, we are on call 24/7, so we don't mind if you call us at 10 o'clock at night, because I may not come out and visit you at 10 o'clock at night, but we can talk and we can make an appointment for me to come and see you, the next day or the day after.
Well, thank you for coming here today.
You're welcome.
And sharing all of your expertise. And thank you all for watching today and listening, and share this information with others that you may need, that may need our help, that might need home health care. Give Kim a call at Champion Home Health. And also let other people know, if you enjoyed the show, that they can watch every week, Tuesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, live stream on caregiversolutions.info. And thanks again, Kim. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you all. And we will see you next time, same place. And in the meantime, don't forget, give somebody a hug, because they need it, and so do you. Take care.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teal. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.